The following may contain language and subject matter which may or may not be appropriate for all audiences, mostly because of Andy.
Penis.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Low Fact Podcast. Got Andy, Matt, and Dave.
What's up?
And I wanted to kind of jump right in and talk a little bit about what we were talking about last week, which was, well, my notes are far away and I can't get to them. But like there are some answers that are really unsatisfying to me personally. Like when Andy says, it's ego. Whenever I say something, mostly because I don't know what ego is, and also because I'm not a big fan of academics and academia. But
Big words.
yeah, but I do like macadamia nuts. So bust some knowledge on us, Andy. What is ego?
Ego. It's yourself, like your confidence in your side of yourself, like how much you have.
Okay.
I would kind of define it like that. As someone who's not intellectable, I would consider it that. It's just your self confidence in yourself, how you present yourself to the world.
Okay, so in going on that, I'm kind of remembering what we talked about, but I can't. And if either one of you remembers what we were talking about when ego came up, do you remember? Because I thought I was thinking about that over the weekend, ego and all that stuff, but more of on
Oh yeah, no, I do remember. Sorry, I just remembered. We talked about self. I said it was self-confidence.
Ego.
Yeah,
So what I just said right now.
yeah,
Okay.
Thank you very little.
yeah.
Square one.
Yeah. I feel like we've moved back 2 spaces. Well, no, okay, so in the context of everyone thinking they're superior to everyone else, I mean, that's something that's really kind of taken for granted. In that I think everyone just kind of thinks that they're superior to everyone else for no reason at all. Or maybe there is a reason and we just don't know yet. But it led me to thinking, if you believe in the theory of evolution, what about that trait was so the idea of, that you're better than everybody else? What is it about that trait that was helpful to being a successful breeder, so that you could pass that idea to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation?
Oh, it's something that got preserved
Well, it had to have been. I mean,
biologically.
I don't necessarily think that, you know, if it was a particularly strong trait or a unhelpful trait, that people would think that.
It seems to have helped humanity keep going.
Right. So what is it about the way that our species lives? Because it doesn't matter what culture you come from, the same thing has happened. In that we're all what I guess the scientists call social animals. So we have to have other animals like us around. So what about this idea that I am superior to y'all, and vice versa, from each of your perspectives, that helps propagate the species and stay within the community?
Oh, that last part threw me off. I was gonna say, well, because when you have that, like, when you have that kind of ego, you want to strive for better all the time, and that means you always want to expand. Since you believe you're better than everyone, you also believe you deserve better than everyone, and it kind of makes you strive for better, I would hope, or strive for something bigger than yourself, and that could affect your community, and you feel that your community deserves better. It just, because you think you're superior, you're always going to assume that you deserve the best, and sometimes that means taking away stuff that people don't have.
Well, that's what I wonder about. Are those two necessarily things that go hand in hand? Like, if you believe you're better, you should deserve better. Do those necessarily go hand in hand? Is kind of something that I'm thinking of right now.
I definitely think they go hand in hand. If you think you're better, you're always going to assume you deserve better. You're not going to think you're better and say, I'm also satisfied with how I am forever, so I never want any more.
Oh, you're saying that they could exist like independent of each other?
I'm wondering. I'm wondering out loud because one possible explanation to, and I'm just focusing on the this phrase that Andy said, like about never being satisfied, wanting more. That could just be an out. Well, that could just be a result of being broken, as a lot of our religious brothers think. Well, when I say that, I'm actually thinking of one religious brother. Yeah, you don't know him, but the whole idea that because we are broken, we're always trying to fill a void with something. Right. There are people that believe that if you don't have God in your life, then you're going to want more and more and more and more. But the counter argument to that is, well, I know plenty of people that are religious and they want more and more and more and more. But then the counter argument to that is, well, they're just acting like they're religious. They're not really religious, because if you were filled with God, you wouldn't need more.
That's true. I believe that.
Need less. Wasn't Jesus the dude who bummed around and couch surfed all his life towards the end of it? He didn't need anywhere to live. He was fucking lazy, but
Wow. I'm gonna move a little bit farther away from Andy here. You know, not that
I'm just saying, when someone's couch surfing in the modern day, you're seen as a bum or someone who doesn't like to work. Jesus does it, all of a sudden he gets his own fucking book.
I'm gonna move a little bit farther away. Not that I'm particularly religious, but just in case.
He's a little superstitious.
A little superstitious. Well, I knock on wood every now and then, so who am I to say shit?
I felt a little bit like after the fact, after last week, when I didn't mean to sound like I was dissing the meaning of your name, but afterwards I was like, oh, it's probably not good.
Did you have a bad week for the rest of the week?
There were a few things that happened where I was like,
Well, let's push it a little further.
But I don't know. Maybe you have to have ego to kind of exist in society, because without ego, you're not really going to be trying to maybe it's to do with survival.
Well, it's definitely to do with competition and trying to outdo.
But if you have a group, then why do you don't? You probably, if you exist in the group, then maybe ego isn't so important, because in the group you kind of have to squash your ego a little bit in the interests of the group.
Certain things.
I think it turns more into a group ego. If you join a group and you forget about your own and you worry more about the group's ego, and that becomes the priority. And at that point, you feel that group deserves better because they have.
Well, I think if things are going badly, then you tend to look to the group rather than your own situation. But I think if your life was going very well, then you wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't really care about the group so much, or you might care about your family, and that would be it.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those questions that, unfortunately or fortunately, we being the three of us here, aren't really equipped to answer in any kind of way, because if you think about it, people have been trying to do it for thousands of years.
I thought we were going to figure out.
Is it a philosophical question?
I suppose anything can be boiled down to a philosophical question. But that was just something that really, and it's funny because as I was thinking about all this stuff over the weekend, I had all these great things. I'm like, wow, this point's good, but it's just like having a dream, right? In the dream, you're like, oh, this is great, and you wake up and you just start losing parts of the dream, or
Well, maybe in the dream you were having a conversation with some people that were like you.
No, I was not having.
Imagine 3 Daves.
We I don't know about you, Andy, but I'm pretty good at derailing Dave's ideas for where things are going to go with the podcast. It's not deliberate. That's just what happens.
Well, then you're gifted in that sense.
Yeah. Gifted, special. They're both the same.
People like to think that, but I don't know. So do we have any more to say on this?
I don't know. I thought we were going to figure it out in this past 10 minutes, which is a 1,000-year-old question.
But we will figure it out, except we will figure it out in a whole nother episode that has nothing to do with this. Which is why you all need to listen and tell other people to listen and take notes because I have no idea where this train's going.
Should I take notes?
No, I think you got a lot on your plate as it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you got enough on your plate, man.
So yeah, I guess that's unsatisfying enough.
Oh yeah. I feel like we need like a warm up. We never do a warm up. You know, it's like warming up for a sports game.
I don't know that it would help.
I feel like we
I'm
would use all
hoping
our
it would.
material in our warm up, and then we have nothing to talk about.
I mean,
Best to just go in.
when you say the warm-up thing, it reminds me of a World Cup soccer match from years ago. I think it was like the late 80s. It was Korea versus Portugal. And the Korean coach was so pissed off at his guys that he gave them punishment drills just before a game
Oh,
with Portugal, and he just ran those poor soccer players ragged, and they lost spectacularly because they were tired.
that's insane.
His point was made, though.
Well, whether it was or not, I do remember that he
Was this a
wasn't.
Korean guy or a white guy?
No, he was a Korean guy, and he
How
wasn't.
was it? Not surprising.
He wasn't the coach for much longer. I think he lasted maybe one more World Cup cycle.
Did they get a B on their practice?
Pardon?
Did they get a B on their practice, and that's why they got in trouble?
Asian B or
Asian B.
Yeah, maybe.
Oof, that's a rough one. That's an A minus for Hispanics.
An Asian B is an A minus for Hispanics.
Low standards.
I hate to sound particularly arrogant, but I think an Asian B is probably a little bit higher than that. Not to
Not to drag my dick on the Hispanic culture.
yeah, exactly. Not to make it sound like I feel superior to the Latinos.
Back to the full circle. Ego. We're right back to it.
Well, that's funny because I just don't. I don't. If it is ego, especially in that sense, and just kind of trying to look into my own head thinking about it, I don't know, because it's like something that Matt and I were talking about when you were playing hooky for a week, on that 1 week, because
I was playing with a hooker.
because you had car troubles. Like the whole idea that when a person puts another person down, that person's doing it to make themselves feel superior. And when I think about all the times that I, in a non-teasing way, really just kind of going off on someone, calling them stupid or whatever, my position in that picture really doesn't come into focus. It's really just, it's all the other person. Yes, I think you're stupid.
But you're not looking down on that person?
I may be, but it's not doing anything to make me feel more superior. I'm very angry that I had to share time and space
Oh.
out of my finite life dealing with someone that's that stupid in that moment.
So it's
And it could be a total stranger.
so it's a practical thing for you.
It could be a family member. When that anger's gone, it's gone. But when I'm sitting there like harping on someone, the only thing I'm thinking of is how unsatisfactory that other person is, not how superior I am.
See, but I don't think you're your average bear. I mean, I think a lot of people. Speaking for myself, if I was going off on someone as being stupid, like I think in that moment I do have that whole superiority thing going on. Like a lot of times when I'm calling someone stupid, the other thing that's going on is that I am feeling superior in that moment.
I definitely agree. I have that a daily basis. I like.
Really?
So I'm like, there is a superiority aspect to it.
I definitely feel superior. I don't know if it's rightfully so, but there's a large amount of mouth breathers out there that I feel like I'm pretty stupid, and I can admit it. But there's people who are dumber than me, and I feel a lot better when I'm around them.
Really?
I do.
Talk
about stroking my ego.
I just feel frustrated. I can't stand it.
Wow, so you don't have the superiority thing going on.
Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do, and it's just so set in
It's
whatever.
like underlying, like it's not even.
It's just so set that I don't even think
You're
about
not
it.
even aware of it.
To be fair, stupid people are frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah, but everybody's like, I mean,
Stupid? You're right.
Well, so we can end with a variation of the old adage: if you don't know who the stupid person is in the room, then it's you.
You can find us on Twitter, Instagram at Low Fat Podcast. You can email us. Please email us, lowfatpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just search Low Fat Podcast and find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and YouTube, or wherever else you pick up your feed. Thank you.